Here are the top stories for today, December 30, 2021. President Rodrigo Duterte signs into law the proposed 2022 national budget, providing sure funding for important measures. He also signs the law creating a new government department for migrant workers. The country marks the 125th year of national hero Dr. Jose Rizal's martyrdom today. Officials call on Filipinos to emulate Rizal's heroism and love of country as the battle against COVID-19 continues. Authorities renew their call to do away with the use of firecrackers for the New Year revelry and instead donate to typhoon victims. They also appeal to the public not to be complacent following a fresh increase in COVID-19 infections. And job well done, the Commission on Elections says the conduct of mock polls was successful as it continues to iron out plans for the country's first elections under the shadow of a pandemic. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. An ease to the country's pandemic and calamity expenditure, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte has signed into law the 5.024 trillion peso national budget for 2022, which will be used for the country's COVID-19 pandemic response and recovery efforts in the aftermath of Typhoon Odette. Next year's 5.024 trillion peso budget is significantly higher by 11.5% than this year's 4.5 trillion peso national budget. The president signed the 2022 national budget in a ceremony at the Rizal Hall in Malacañang Palace. It was witnessed by select members of the House of Representatives and Senate. The Department of Budget and Management earlier announced that the 6 billion pesos out of the 10 billion pesos pledged by the president for the recovery of typhoon-hit areas in Visayas and Mindanao would be sourced from the 2022 national budget. President Duterte expressed appreciation to members of Congress for ensuring the timely ratification of the budget bill, as well as efforts of government agencies, partners from civil society and other civil servants who took part in crafting the legislation. Also signed this morning is the creation of the Department of Migrant Workers, which is expected to benefit an estimated total of 2.2 million Filipinos abroad.
Express my appreciation to the members of Congress for ensuring the timely ratification of the more than 5 trillion peso national budget. Maubos kaya natin to. I also recognize the efforts of our government agencies, our partners from civil society and other civil servants who took part in the crafting of this important legislation. Indeed, the passage of General Appropriation Act of 2022 reflects the healthy collaboration among all branches of government, which is crucial to the attainment of our national development goals, especially during these trying times.
As the nation commemorates the 125th anniversary of the martyrdom of Dr. Jose Rizal, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and other government officials highlight today's event with words of encouragement as we continue to battle the pandemic and aftermath of Typhoon Odette. The details from Benj Mondong.
President Rodrigo Duterte led the wreath-laying and flag-raising ceremony at the Rizal Park in Manila this morning in commemoration of the 125th year of Dr. Jose Rizal's martyrdom. This year's commemoration carries the theme Rizal para sa agaham, katotohanan at buhay. Among the officials present in the ceremony are Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso, Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año, Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief General Andres Centino, and National Historical Commission of the Philippines Chairperson Dr. Rene Escalante. In his message for the occasion, the President enjoins the public to continue to honor Rizal by fostering nationalism among the Filipino youth. He also enjoins the public to honor our modern-day heroes who are at the front lines, saying, just like Rizal, true heroes give their lives for the love of country and of people. Meanwhile, PCOO Secretary Martin Andanaro hopes Dr. Jose Rizal's legacy becomes a source of inspiration and determination for us to collectively respond and address the many social ills natural disasters, and the COVID-19 pandemic that our country is currently facing and enduring. He also encourages the public to continue to be inspired and embody the values and principles of Rizal as we collectively heal, recover, and rise as one nation. For Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, Rizal's ideals, courage, and his ultimate sacrifice remind us to continue the battles we face as a country, and how we can overcome them with the same devotion and courage as our national hero. Lorenzana also urges all Filipinos to keep bettering themselves and use Rizal's heroism as inspiration and be a part of the change that will bring prosperity to the nation. For his part, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año encourages Filipinos to follow the national hero's example in strengthening their self-discipline, especially during this time of a pandemic. He says this can be done through the practice of individual self-discipline, particularly in adhering to the minimum public health standards and in getting vaccinated, as well as sharing the right information about COVID-19 prevention and its vaccines. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondok.
Donate to victims of Typhoon Odette instead of buying firecrackers. This is the call of acting presidential spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles after the Department of Health reported 25 firecracker-related injuries ahead of the new year. Citing an executive order signed by President Rodrigo Duterte in 2017, Nograles said fireworks should only be confined to community fireworks displays and should only be conducted under the supervision of a trained person duly licensed by the Philippine National Police or PNP.
At wala nga po tayong fireworks related injuries na makikita dahil nga po community fireworks lang po ang pwede. Kina-crackdown na po yan ng DILG at ng PNP. So, imbis na bili tayo ng fireworks, ibigay na lang po natin sa mga nangangailangan.
The Department of Health is reminding the public to refrain from using prohibited and illegal firecrackers to prevent injuries. In its report, the DOH says injuries related to fireworks increased by 108%, with 25 reported cases from December 21st to 29, compared to only 12 reported cases for the same period in 2020. More than 36% of the cases were from Western Visayas, followed by the Ilocos region, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, and National Capital Region. The DOH said most of the injuries were among minors aged 9 to 16 years old, while more than half of the cases were blast and burn injuries not requiring amputation. However, about 28% or 7 cases required amputation. The DOH advised the public to put safety first and use alternatives to fireworks such as noise and light producing devices like sound systems, bells, pans, or tambourines to prevent debilitating and life-threatening injuries. An outpour of relief aid from different foreign donors continues for the victims of Typhoon Odette. This as more countries are sending goods and pledging cash aid. Among these countries are the United States, South Korea, China, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. personally thanked the U.S. government for its additional 950 million pesos humanitarian assistance to the country, which would provide the worst-hit communities in the Visayas and Mindanao with food, water, and temporary shelter needs. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates and Qatar are among the latest countries to pledge assistance to the country's typhoon relief efforts. Qatar is expected to send 2 plane loads of goods. China also donated 1 million pesos worth of bottled drinking water, while the Taiwanese Compatriot Association in the Philippines formally donated 2 million pesos to assist in the country's relief efforts. Other countries who earlier allocated separate relief packages for the Philippines are South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Ireland, Canada, Australia, Hungary, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Israel, Singapore, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands, Finland, Switzerland, the European Union, as well as the United Nations Central Emergency Response Fund. The Department of Health noted an increasing number of COVID-19 cases in the country. It attributes the uptick in the number of infections to holiday-related mobility. The DOH report shows an increase of more than 50% in the number of COVID-19 cases this week, from 421 cases on Tuesday to 889 new infections on Wednesday. Meantime, the Octa Research Group says the positivity rate in the National Capital Region is now at 8.4%. In a tweet, Octa Research Group fellow Dr. Guido David said the 7-day positivity rate has increased to 3.86%. This means new cases in the NCR are projected to hit more than 1,000 on December 30. Positivity rate is the percentage of COVID-19 tests performed which turned out positive in a certain area or region. As such, Acting Presidential Spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles urges the local government units to impose granular or localized lockdowns in areas with an uptick in COVID-19 cases to prevent infections from again reaching an alarming level. He also urges the public to continue adhering to minimum public health standards.
Ngayong panahon ng Pasko, ang panahon ng pag-iingat. No? It's mask, hugas, iwas, plus bakuna. Hindi po pwede mawala ang isa dyan sa apat. No, hindi dahil nakamask tayo at naghugas tayo at bakunado tayo, nakakalimutan natin yung iwas. No? Marami tayong nakikita mga areas po na nagsisiksikan ang mga tao, kahit naman nakamask sila, kahit naman naka-bakunado na, fully vaccinated, pero nagsisiksikan pa rin. So, nava-violate na naman po yung isa sa apat. Again, this is a shared responsibility. Hindi po dapat nakaatang lamang sa balikat ng pamahalaan ninyo or ng LGU. Nakaatang ito sa balikat nating lahat.
The Omicron COVID-19 variant is spreading faster than any previous variant. So far, it has been detected in 77 countries. The World Health Organization is working double time to contain the spread of infectious disease. In his message, WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus stressed the importance of adhering to public health protocols.
77 countries have now reported cases of Omicron, and the reality is that Omicron is probably in most countries, even if it hasn't been detected yet. Omicron is spreading at a rate we have not seen with any previous variant. We're concerned that people are dismissing Omicron as mild. Surely, we have learned by now that we underestimate this virus at our peril. Even if Omicron does cause less severe disease, the sheer number of cases could once again overwhelm unprepared health systems. I need to be very clear. Vaccines alone will not get any country out of this crisis. Countries can and must prevent the spread of Omicron with measures that work today. It's not vaccines instead of masks. It's not vaccines instead of distancing. It's not vaccines instead of ventilation or hand hygiene. Do it all. Do it consistently. Do it well.
Still to come, the palace calls on private hospitals to avail of the new scheme on payment of claims. And another shipment of Moderna jabs hiked the country's stockpile to 210 million. Details ahead. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here, and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on-site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
Malacanang on Wednesday urged private hospitals to avail of the debit credit payment method 3 or DCPM3, the new payment scheme of PhilHealth. Under the DCPM3, 60% of claims will be paid to the hospitals, while the remaining 40% will be settled upon completion of processing requirements. Acting Presidential Spokesperson Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said participating in DCPM3 will provide fresh funds for hospitals and protect their members if reimbursements are restricted. To date, 182 hospitals have submitted their letter of intent to participate in DCPM3. Nograles made the statement as the Private Hospitals Associations of the Philippines, or PHAPI, deferred its plan to stop or accept claims for deductions for health services from January 1 to 5, 2022 in what it called a PhilHealth holiday.
As of December 24, 2021, PhilHealth has fast-tracked the release of 11.64 billion pesos for payment of claims through the debit credit payment method, or DCPM, to hospital partners nationwide. Under the third wave, so they're now going to implement yung third wave ng DCPM. All hospitals treating COVID patients and those offering the PhilHealth testing package can now avail of the DCPM3. Ang panawagan po ng PhilHealth sa mga hospitals ay to avail of DCPM3 para po ay magkaroon na po ng funding na kinakailangan ng ating mga hospitals.
The number of vaccine doses secured by the Philippines since the pandemic started has reached over 210 million. This as government officials welcomed on Wednesday night 1.23 million Moderna doses procured by the private sector. The latest shipment will be used for first and second doses as well as for booster shots. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Consultant Lieutenant Colonel Francel Margaret Taborlupa said the shipment will help the government reach the target of vaccinating 54 million to attain population protection. With enough jabs in the country's stockpile, Taborlupa reiterated the government's appeal on all unvaccinated to get jabbed as soon as possible, especially now with the entry of the Omicron variant. She noted that the government is also aiming to vaccinate at least 77 million people before the 2022 election and kick off the inoculation drive for 5 to 11 years old by mid-January. The government has already procured additional 15 million doses of United States-made Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine to boost the inoculation of children in the country by 2022. Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, the special medical advisor of the National Task Force Against COVID-19, said these Pfizer doses are set to be delivered in January and February next year. Once these deliveries have arrived, the government will start vaccinating children ages 5 to 11 years old. The government eyes at least 13.5 million recipients of lower dosages of Pfizer vaccine under this age bracket. Herbosa welcomed a delivery of over 360,000 Pfizer doses at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport on Tuesday night. The government also welcomed the arrival of 1.9 million doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines on Wednesday and 2 million on Tuesday procured by the private sector. The Department of Energy's Task Force on Energy Resiliency and ensuring that power in Bohol Province would be back for good by Thursday. DOE Director Mario Marasigan said the task force is committed to partially restoring power in Bohol before year-end. He added that there is now a power barge in Bohol that is ready to partially supply the needs of Bohol Light Company, a major private power distributor, as well as the other two electric cooperatives in the province. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines earlier confirmed that zero transmission lines in Bohol were restored since the onslaught of Typhoon Odette last December 16. For the Visayas grid, 63 out of the 75 transmission lines were brought back. In Mindanao, 100% of 20 transmission lines damaged by the recent typhoon were finally restored. More stories from the newsroom. The Commission on Elections says the recently concluded mock polls was a success. And learning history in a fun way, we take a look at these Japanese comics or manga featuring the life of Dr. Jose Rizal. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Mga kabida, hindi pa rin nawawala ang banta ng COVID-19. Upang masiguro ang kaligtasan ninyo at ng inyong pamilya, hanapin ang Safety Seal sticker sa inyong pupuntahan. Mapamall man ito, kainan, pasyalan o kahit anong business establishment. Ang Safety Seal ay tanda ng isang establishmento ay sumusunod sa minimum public health standards ng gobyerno para maiwasan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19. Ating tandaan, bida ang may disiplina. #SafetySeal para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
The Commission on Elections, or Comelec, has called the mock polls conducted for the 2022 national and local elections as successful. Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez said many people have participated in the activity, which simulated the election process from voting to canvassing. He said the mock polls held in most places had a 100% turnout versus their expected number of voters. Jimenez said the results of the mock elections will be reviewed to determine areas that need to be improved going into the actual election day on May 9, 2022. Attorney Ronald Santiago, election officer, 1st District in Pasay City, said maintaining physical distancing was one of the challenges they encountered. Registered voters from the cities of Pasay, Taguig, and the municipality of Pateros, along with the provinces of Isabela, Albay, Negros Oriental, Leyte, Maguindanao, and Davao del Sur participated in the mock polls. The Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao has passed its proposed 79.8 billion peso budget for 2022, paving the way to more development projects and pro-people initiatives in the region. The Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education got the biggest chunk of the budget allocation of 24.7 billion pesos, followed by the Ministry of Public Works at 16.3 billion, Office of the Chief Minister at 8 billion, and the Ministry of Health at 4.6 billion. The 2022 budget is 6% higher than this year's 75.6 billion peso budget. The budget was approved by the Bangsamoro Transition Authority during a special session on Tuesday night. Members of Parliament approved the Bangsamoro Expenditure Program for 2022, which was certified as urgent by BARMM Chief Minister Ahod Ibrahim on third and final reading. The funds would be utilized to spur recovery initiatives from the economic recession brought by COVID-19. In our news overseas, 35 people, including 2 staff members of Save the Children, a global non-government organization, were killed in an attack blamed on the Myanmar military in Kaya State last December 24. In a statement, the NGO confirmed the death of the 2 staff members, although their identities were not disclosed for security reasons. It said the 2 were on their way back to their office after working on humanitarian response nearby when they were attacked. Save the Children Chief Executive Inger Ashing condemned the violence against innocent civilians and aid workers. Ashing called on the UN Security Council to convene and hold those responsible to account while asking member states to impose an arms embargo. Save the Children has been working in Myanmar since 1995. UN Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator Martin Griffiths and Washington, D.C. has separately issued their condemnations of the attack. Learning the life, works, and martyrdom of Dr. Jose Rizal can now be enjoyed by the younger generation in the form of Japanese comics or manga. The Philippine Embassy in Japan unveiled the English and Filipino versions of the manga Jose Rizal, the Filipino hero's life illustrated, as part of its Centro Rizal Library in time for the 125th anniversary of Rizal's death. The copies bear the signatures of the writer Takahiro Matsui and artist Ryo Konmo. Philippine Embassy in Japan Chargé d'Affaires Robespierre Bolivar said Rizal's life, work, and values should be shared with generations of young Filipino and Japanese students alike. For his part, Matsui hoped that he can share Rizal's inspiration to Filipinos living in Japan. The manga was first released online in 2018 before being published in Filipino, English, and Nihongo. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Rodrigo Duterte signs into law the proposed 2022 national budget, providing sure funding for important measures. He also signs the law creating a new government department for migrant workers. The country marks the 125th year of national hero Dr. Jose Rizal's martyrdom today. Officials call on Filipinos to emulate Rizal's heroism and love of country as the battle against COVID-19 continues. Authorities renew their call to do away with the use of firecrackers for the New Year revelry and instead donate to typhoon victims. They also appeal to the public not to be complacent following a fresh increase in COVID-19 infections. And job well done, the Commission on Elections says the conduct of mock polls was successful as it continues to iron out plans for the country's first elections under the shadow of a pandemic. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And because it's only 2 more days to go before the new year, we at the PNA Newsroom have prepared a very special year-ender for all of you, which will be aired tomorrow on IBC 13 at 7 p.m. and on PTV4 at 11 o'clock p.m. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.